Everybody and welcome. My name is Brooke and you're at the Pink Frog. Today we are starting off with our series on making a jean jacket with the Butterick B6390. That's the Gertie pattern. So for this pattern you will need the Gertie pattern, the B6390. That's the Gertie jean jacket pattern. You'll need 2 to 3 yards of fabric depending on what size you're going to make, and that can be denim or twill. You need 2 yards of interfacing at 20 inches. You need 8 3/4 buttons and 2 5/8 buttons, and some thread and a sewing machine and your regular sewing tools. So let's get started. So I've got 45 inches of fabric, so I am going with the highlighted pattern layout right there. And this is the way the fabric is laid out, so that your pattern is going to be on the inside, and you've got it folded longwise, just like they would when it's factory folded at the store on the bolts. And I'm going to start laying down my pattern according to the pattern that I have in my instructions. So I've got the first layer of my pattern pinned. I have taken in the sleeve by 1.25 inches. And I've taken in the waist 1.25 inches as well to make it so that it will hit my waist properly when I wear it. I'm going to cut all this out, on to the next. So on every piece, you want to make sure that you cut out your notches and that you mark every single detail that you have on each and every piece. And then as soon as that is done, which my pieces are all cut out, the notches are all done, you can start with sewing. We're going to start with the front and the back, and I'm going to start putting in all the darts. That's my first step. So right now what I'm working on is the pleat in the pocket, which is this part right here. And I haven't sewn anything yet, but I've folded it to make it so it looks the way it should. You're supposed to go over and sew these. So that's the front, and that's the back. And right here is where you're going to put your button on the front side. But inside of here, you have the little small dots on each side, and you bring them into the center dot. This is the back side. This is the front side. So when it's finished, it will look like that. And then you will put your button right through here, and your pocket will be finished like that. And you'll have your seam allowances on all of this. So, and again, that's just what it's looking like without it being sewn. So right now I'm going to sew the edges right here and right here, and then it asks for you to top stitch across the pocket to the outside seam line and stitch ends and trim as shown. So that's what I'm going to end up doing, which is right here. You just go across here, and then you're going to do that, which I'm not quite sure about, but we'll figure that out. So what I did was I did top stitching across here and top stitching across the bottom, and that makes the pleat in here just more stable. That's the pleat. That's what it looks on that side. That's what it looks like on this side. And again, this is where your button's going to go. So now the next step is we have to turn out the outer edge of the pocket to the outside of the long seam line, along the seam line. Stitch ends and trim as shown. So that's what I'm doing next. So in the instructions, it talks about turning the inside out of the upper edge of the pocket and then trimming it to make, I guess, a smoother seam. But to me, it doesn't make it smoother. It makes it more bumpier. So now you can see like the whole pocket has come undone and it's all frayed. So I don't suggest doing this because now I don't have extra fabric to remake a pocket again. I used all my fabric, so now I've got to somehow make this work, and it's all frayed at the end. So here are my 2 pockets. They've been top stitched. I pre-top stitched my pockets. It just makes it easier going around the whole entire pocket. And then that's the inside, and then that's where the button is going to go on the outside. So those are all set and ready to go. Yay! So this is the top part of the pocket. I've got where the button is going to come through. That is the lining. And that is the other side of the pocket. And what I have to do now is go around and do iron this out, so I've got my seam allowances all ironed out so I can sandwich this all together, and I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I'm done. So what I've done here is I've cut out my lining to fit snugly inside of the pocket top because I don't want there to be a ton of bulk in my seams. You've got 3 pieces of fabric going together. You've got your backing, you've got your lining, and then you've got your top. And that's going to make for a lot of seam binding, and I don't want a lot of bulk there. So I just cut out my lining to go inside there. And it fits really nicely. And it just makes things easier in the long run when you've got to do all your top stitching and everything. It just looks cleaner to me. On to the next. Okay, so this is the pocket all sandwiched together. This is the back of the pocket. It's the front of the pocket. Now I've got to sew this, top stitch it all together so it looks really nice and pretty. But if I had had extra bulk in these side seams, this would have been a lot more puckered. So I pin my pieces together just simply because that works for me. If you have a better way of doing it, you can do it your way. This is how I do it. So here's the pocket all top stitched and ready to go. All 3 layers are sandwiched together, and we are set to do the other one. So I'm going to finish the other one, and then I'll show you what that looks like on the jacket. Okay, so now we've got the jacket. We've got nothing's been sewn down yet, but you can at least see, you can get an idea visual of the way it's supposed to look. And that looks really cool. And we're on to the next pocket. Yay! Okay, so that's one side of the front, and there's the other side of the front. These aren't sewn down yet. They're just showing you what they look like. And there we go. So now my pockets are sewn down to the actual front pieces. So there's one. There's the other. These don't have buttons yet, simply because of the fact my buttons have not arrived from Joanna Fabrics. I'm hoping that they will arrive shortly, but we will have to wait and see. But yeah, no, that looks really good. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. So far, so good. Now we're going to move on. Okay, so now we're going to do a reinforcement stitch on the back, on the neckline, and on the sidelines, and then I am going to stitch the side pieces to the back, and I'll show what that looks like. These are the side pieces all pinned to the curve. I'm going to sew those in, and I will finish that and show you what that looks like when it's done. So you want to edge stitch and top stitch your seams, the back seams, which I've done. And now we're going to go on to pinning the yoke. I'm going to show you what the seams look like when they've been edge stitched and top stitched. Okay, so this is the back. It doesn't have the yoke in yet, but the side pieces are in, and they've been top stitched on both sides. And we are all set to go for the yoke. So that's what we're going to do next, the yoke. Okay, so here's the back and the top stitching that is all done and all the parts are together. And on the sides, I have top stitching on both sides, which was a mistake I made, but it doesn't matter, it's okay. And then here is the front parts. And that is the end of this part for right now until I get some more sewing done. So on to part 2, which I hope to have done by Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see what happens. If not sooner, I'm waiting on some parts from Joanne, some buttons and things. But that's as far as I've got so far. So I will see you guys in a bit. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that some of the tutorial on this has been helpful to you. Part 2 will be coming up as soon as I get the extra parts, which I'm hoping should be Monday or Tuesday. You never can tell with the delivery system here. Anyway, thank you so much and have a great day and stay happy. Bye-bye.